Good evening, everybody. I'm Amy Budd. I think I know probably about half of you at this point in time. I'm in my first year here as assistant professor of theater at Goshen College, and I am just so very excited and delighted this evening to introduce you all to someone who is perhaps my most famous former colleague, Fergie L. Philippe. Fergie and I were at the Arkansas Shakespeare Theater at the same time in 2015, and I was not able to claim him for my production of As You Like It, but I did get to AD a production of The Merry Wives of Windsor, in which he performed, and I have a striking memory of him hitting a really great arabesque while standing on a chair in that show. Since then, Fergie has completed his BFA at Elon University. I think he had just finished his second year of undergraduate when we met. And then since finishing that degree in, I want to say 2017, Fergie has launched a career in regional theater and then landed a dream job playing the role of my favorite character and Anna Kurtz-Cook's favorite character, Mulligan Madison, in Hamilton, first on tour and then on Broadway. So, and most recently in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, if you watched that, you will have seen Ferg on TV. So Ferg had been running with the Sons of Liberty for, I think, close to 3 years when the pandemic hit last spring. And this evening, he's joining us from Greater Miami, Florida, where his Rona gig is teaching at his high school alma mater, New World School of the Arts. And he also has a college teaching job, which I don't know what school he's at. Should have asked him. We can ask him later. So yeah. But without further ado, I want to bring Fergie on. I'm going to monitor the chat so webinar participants can send in their questions. Fergie, turn your camera on. Hello.
Hey guys, how's it going? I also teach at New World for the college. They have a high school and a college program. So that's how I'm teaching with both.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for making time to be with us tonight.
Absolutely. Of course. Very excited.
Great. Let's see, workshop participants, go ahead and turn your cameras on.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Everybody good? Everybody good? Everyone looks so young and beautiful and sparkly and purty. Yes, I love it. Well, hi. So as I said, or as Amy said, I didn't say anything. Fergie is my name, and acting is the game. Specifically tonight, it's going to be vocal production to the best best of my abilities. It's been a minute since I've really just only focused on vocal production, and I actually really kind of went back and forth with some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. But I think what I really want to touch on specifically is classical text. I'm classically trained in terms of my vocal production and in terms of the things that I know and that I feel good about in terms of vocally producing good sound for the stage. And so what I thought I would do is kind of share with you like kind of my warm-up process on a regular basis, and then I'll kind of throw some of the stuff that actually involves a lot of the teaching that I'm doing right now. And then we'll play with some text, and hopefully everybody in here will get a chance to kind of speak some text out loud, and we'll have some fun and play around. Just for my curiosity, can somebody just tell me what are the kind of what levels are we at? What grades and years are we in school? And feel free to unmute and tell me.
I'm first year.
First year? Okay, cool, cool. Anna, what about you?
I'm also a first year.
Is everybody here first year?
No.
No, not everybody. Oh, no. Okay, so you guys are first year. Kaylee, what about you?
I'm a
Is that how you pronounce it, Kaylee?
Yes, I'm a
Kaylee,
senior.
you're a senior. Okay, great. Amber?
I'm also a senior as well.
Senior. Do you pronounce it Beck? Yes, Beck, and you're a senior.
Yes, I am.
Amazing. Willa?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore. Cool, cool, cool. Ben?
I'm a junior.
Junior. Okay, great. Abigail?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior. And Emmy?
I'm a senior.
Okay, senior. Great. So we have all kinds of different levels. Great. Everybody gonna learn from each other. Everybody's gonna give to the pot and take out of the pot. It's gonna be great. Let's see. So essentially, it's so interesting. My vocal process for Mulligan really has changed quite a lot. If you know the show, Mulligan doesn't exactly have the like smoothest voice of everybody. He's kind of got a little bit of gruff to him. He's some gravel going on in his throat. And it's been a really interesting, because Amy's right. I've been with the show now 3 years, and so it's kind of been an up and down process in terms of figuring out the kind of things that are necessary and needed in order to do the role 8 times a week. Which I very much underestimated when I first got into the show. It's a whole nother world that I wish there was a way to simulate that before you had to professionally do it, because it's like doing the Olympics. Like it's just really like its own thing, and there's no way to prep for it. You just got to do it and see. After my first week of performances, so the way that some of this worked out, I was one of the original members of the second national tour, which was the Philippe tour of Hamilton. We started rehearsals in 2017 and we left tour in 2018. And so we were teching in Seattle for about a week before we premiered. And I just never really considered, like, what is an 8-show week going to be like? Like, what is that going to feel on my body? What do I need to do to take care of myself? All these different things. And after my first week, I could not leave my bed on my day off. Like I genuinely could not leave my room and go hang out because I was so tired. And that was just physically. And unfortunately at that point, I hadn't understood the idea of, what's the term? I forgot the word. It'll come to me later, but the kind of patience, this idea that, I didn't need to be at a 10, then a hurricane came. Like that's literally how I would walk out on stage. I would immediately start screaming. And part of it was excitement. Part of it was being way too young. I can't believe they cast me at that age. And really just not knowing better. And, by the end of my shot, my voice was almost blown out every night, because of the excitement and because of what I thought Mulligan needed to give. And all of this run around to say that eventually a year later when we were in Dallas, I blew out my voice, like blew out my throat. I got a sinus infection and performed on top of it. And then my cords were just out. So I was out of the show for about a week and a half, and I kind of had to go back to, base one and work my way back to a place where I could understand, how can I keep my voice? And I had to change a lot of things. And one of the things that I'm still trying to adjust to, that I'm understanding, is that so much of poor vocal production actually doesn't come from being on stage. It comes from our everyday life. It comes from what we do during the day. It comes from how we communicate with other people during the day. And by communicating, I mean straight up talking. I talk very poorly, and I recognize that. I talk very much on my chords, and I talk kind of with in the back of my throat. And really, if I were to be talking properly, it'd be a little bit more nasal. It'd be a little bit more forward. You can probably kind of hear it now, but it would be a lot more in the mask of my face. And we're going to kind of try to do some stuff that'll kind of get us to that place. Again, all of that to say, I've been learning a lot about mask resonance, and I've been learning a lot about the combination of not only mask resonance, but how projection plays into that, and how you are able to sustain that so that you are healthy, but producing a kind of sound that you want to produce. Because I don't want to sound like this when I'm playing Mulligan. So, there were different things that I had to find and explore that hopefully we'll be able to find today. But going back to what I was saying about Shakespeare, the same work that I was doing vocally with classical text in Shakespeare is the same work that I do in Hamilton. It's almost completely the same. The only thing that's different is that there's a beat under it. and the language is different, but it's really the same thing. I'm using the same level of scansion. I'm using the same, looking out for alliteration and assonance, and I'm looking for all these different things. And so we won't get into like the analytics of that, but I just want you guys to get in the mindset that so much of what we're doing right now is considered foundation for so many people because it applies everywhere. So the first thing that I would really want to do, I didn't talk about my my warm-up, I'm sorry. So the essential thing that I do now with my warm-ups is that as soon as I wake up, even if I don't have a 2-show day, if my show's at night, the moment I wake up, I'm warming up. And that's the thing that I'm always keeping in mind, is that how you're treating your voice throughout the day is how you are setting yourself up to perform that night. So as soon as I wake up, if I remember, I steam. I love steaming. For those who might not know what steaming is, it's hot air that you just put over your sinuses to kind of, allow some of that dry mucus that accumulated over the night after you slept to kind of pour out and to let your sinuses breathe for a bit. I use My Pure Mist. I don't know if anybody knows what that product is. If you don't, My Pure Mist is a beautifully like small kind of steamer that is wireless and wired. The wireless one is really great. It kind of breaks after like 3 months and you have to buy a new one. But it is a really, really, really good one if you're going to use it frequently. Yeah. So I usually steam in the morning. I get in the shower. I allow hot water to run on the back of my neck. And I kind of just like give myself some humming, just to kind of let myself wake up a bit. And then throughout the day, I'm either lip trilling or I'm humming, and I'm kind of just getting the blood circulation in my face more and more warmed up, and getting all those muscles to move and constantly having them be active, because so much of vocal production involves this as well. And so much of vocal production is ridding yourself of tension, because you would be surprised that tension in your jaw is related to tension in the throat. But it is all connected. And so much of going throughout the day is also like, what can I release? Because if I'm releasing this, all the other parts of my mouth and the anatomy attached to that understands that they can let go too. So there's a lot of that. And connecting that idea of relaxation, that's kind of the first thing I want to get into. But, after I do that, I get to the theater. I actually don't warm up that much. And God, the teachers are probably like, what is he saying? But what I mean is that, to me, and I went to a musical theater school, so it's different. It was really, really, really pushed on us to warm up frequently and to warm up a lot before you did the show. I found for my voice that was not helpful. As a matter of fact, I was warming up so much that that was part of the reason I blew it out early in the show. And what I realized that I could do was that I could finish my warm up as the show started. And what I mean by that is that I am not in a place where I feel like I warm up and then I do the show. I get to a place where my voice is like, ooh, I'm getting in a good place where it feels like it's starting to open up. I'm going to now allow the beginning of the show to really take me to the end, especially because the way Hamilton is written, the beginning of the song Alexander Hamilton starts really slow and then gets to kind of a peak, and then it's my shot. So typically by the time we start the first, I am not throwing away my shot, is when I feel totally warmed up during the show. And all of that to say that, we might be looking at and reconsidering our ideas of what warming up could be, or our ideas of how we think we should warm up. Things kind of vary, and things are dependent based on your vocal structure and based on your anatomy. And always keep that in mind first. If there's ever anything that I give tonight that you're just like, I physically should and can't do that, please listen to your throat, not to me. So I get to the theater, and I typically, the only thing I do really is I get a straw and some water and I blow bubbles. But it's a specific method that I do, that I learned from an ENT, that is about, again, waking up the vocal cords and not so much pushing any kind of sound out. So much of what warming up to me is to just wake things up. It's not to get it to a place. Your voice will naturally do that. You don't have to push your voice to do that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying right now? You're really just, it's almost as if you're setting up for a party. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of cleaning the house, putting out the placemats and putting out the utensils and stuff, but you're not pushing your throat to actually attend the party. Your throat will attend the party how it wants to attend the party. Does that make sense? I love a metaphor, even though that's not a real metaphor. I made that ish up right on the spot, but I love it. So yeah, I blow some bubbles, and then I do I do a vocal exercise. Me, me, ma, mo, moo. We'll probably do a little bit of that tonight. And I lip trill a lot, and that's really it. And I spend 15 minutes doing that so that I wake my voice up. When I'm talking to people backstage, I become hyper aware of how I'm speaking, and then I go on stage. And so that's kind of just my brief little warm up. I do believe the majority of my warm up is done, leading up to when I walk into the theater. And things change depending on the weather. Like I make sure I have to wear a scarf when I'm walking in public. Like if I don't, it really does mess with me. I make sure I take my allergy medication regularly because I have crazy sinuses, just, little things like that. But going back to what I was saying about the idea of total relaxation, so that we're allowing our body and that we're allowing our anatomy to be ready to receive or ready to produce what it wants to produce. One of the exercises that I've been doing in my class and that I did when I was studying voice is a body scan. And I don't know if you guys have ever done anything like that, but a body scan is actually a really wonderful way to kind of get in touch with yourself and just to focus. And it's a really good tension reliever as well. Just in case anybody's curious, all of my vocal foundation and the teachings that I use are out of Freeing the Natural Voice by Kristen Linklater. I think it's a great book, and I think it has a lot of great tools that encourage the actor to think a little bit more holistically about the voice and not so much technically. It's a lot more about the actor's connection. So and it's not for everybody, but there's some good stuff in there that I think could be helpful, especially when you're in your younger years. I think it's a really wonderful way to help connect some of the dots. So for this first part, it seems like everybody has space, so that's good. So let's do this standing up. I usually do this sitting down, but I think standing up is the best way to do it. So if everybody could stand up, get some good space around you. Make sure you have enough space that you'll be able to roll down and roll up easily, things like that. And so like I was saying, the idea is that we're going to be kind of getting our bodies to a place of relaxation and getting our minds set to a place where we are allowing our bodies to receive what it wants to receive. And all of that, hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo will be explained later. But for now, what I would love to do is have everybody stand shoulder width apart, arms to the side. Really allow, do your best not to fidget, do your best not to, adjust yourself, adjust your hair. We're all students and you're all pretty. You don't have to fix yourselves or anything. I promise. I'm just telling y'all, if you get an itch, see how much you can fight letting that itch go without having to go and scratch it. I know that's an awful thing to say, but trust me when I say that. The next thing I want to do is make sure we're all in the right posture, make sure our shoulders are rolled back and that our chest is nice and wide and it's parallel with our shoulders. Yeah, our chest is nice and wide, and then our head is just sitting right on top of it, right? So now, what I would love everyone to do is just close your eyes. Everybody take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Another deep breath in, deep breath out. Now this time when you take a deep breath in, see how much further you can expand your lungs. Deep breath in, and then out. And on this next breath, keep expanding those lungs. And then when you exhale, don't blow it all out at once. See how little at a time you can allow the air to release when you exhale. So deep inhale, really allow those lungs to expand. And now exhale, not pushing it out, but just allowing it to fall out. This is kind of the first lesson in allowing the relaxation of our body to control what it wants to control and not pushing anything out, just letting it be. Deep breath in one more time. Exhale. Nice. Nice. Keep your eyes closed. I want you to imagine your body as a skeleton. And specifically what we're going to do is we're going to start at our feet, right? Imagine what your feet would look like as a skeleton. See all the bones, see the joints, see the ligaments, see everything that connects. And starting at your toes, right before it gets to that first joint, I want you to imagine there's cool air blowing through the tip of those joints, right? So that any tension that might be in the tips of those toes or in the first joints of those toes are automatically being released just from this nice cool air. And the cool air is coming to you kind of like, I'm going to be using this kind of imagery a lot. The idea of a fan being on the lowest setting, you know, and you're like right next to it. So you feel that breeze really nicely, but it's not like smacking you in the face. It's just there. Imagine that kind of air going through the joints of your toes, right? And allowing that tension to kind of release. And the idea is not to just let the cool air blow just once. It's a continual blowing, and it's a continual releasing of tension, yeah? And as it moves through the toes, it's moving up through kind of the base of your feet, thinking about the top of those feet. Any joints, any ligaments, any tiny parts of the bone structure also, you know, getting some of that nice cool air to let go of some of that tension. And as you start to think about that, think about the air actually traveling through, right? Give the air a color so that you can see it clearly. I always think of a light baby blue, kind of like the water in the Bahamas. But it can be any color you want. Visualizing it might help you. As it's moving through the base of your feet, let it get to your ankles. There's so much tension in our ankles, especially for me. Allow it to really, you know, envelop the ankles and then just nicely blow that air right through every nook and cranny so that it's releasing all that tension, yeah? And as it's going through your ankles, now let it go down into the heels. We hold so much tension in our heels. I walk on my heels. What an awful thing. So really imagine that air going through those ankles. And then if you can, if your weight is on your heel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean ankle, I meant heel. If your weight is on your heel, allow it to shift towards the ball. Allow the weight to just shift to the ball of your feet. Give those gams a break. We're letting that nice, cool, whatever color air, I'm gonna say blue for myself, nice, cool blue air going through the heels, right? Let's start moving that all the way up, past the ankles into the shin. Anytime I think of the shin, I get anxious because the thought of someone getting kicked in the shins is so terrible. But just allow that nice, cool air to go through the shin. No shin kicking. Just nice, 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 cool air going through those shins. And then we're going to move up a little bit further, right below the knee. That little ball right before your kneecap. Let's go ahead and get some air going through there. And then imagine that whole part of where your calf is getting all that air too. All that nice, cool blue air, right? And then once you've done that, go into your kneecaps. I hold terrible tension in my kneecaps. You're just hearing all the terrible places I hold tension, which is my entire body, you'll soon learn. But all of that good, cool air going into your kneecap, out of your kneecap, around your knees. It's a nice big joint. We want to make sure that we're releasing all that tension, allowing the cool air to calmly push out the tension. We're going to move up our thighs right now, right before our pelvis, all of our thigh, getting those nice bits of cool air. And now our pelvis is going to be quite an amount of work. So let's start with our right side of the pelvis. There's all these little different bones, all these different joints and ligaments and all these different nooks and crannies and stuff. All that good air going in through all of that, going into all of that. Really focusing on any kind of tension in there, just letting it peacefully go. We're not forcing it out. We're not pushing it out. We're not getting rid of it. We're simply just pushing it off to the side. And then as we get to that right side of the pelvis, we're going to make our way back around through our backside, kind of close to where our clavicle is. Not clavicle, Jesus Christ, our coccyx. All of that. Teacher brain. Getting all that nice, cool air in that backside. Nice, beautiful, cool blue air. And then pushing it all the way around to the left side. All the way to the left side of your pelvis, getting all that nice, cool air. And once you've done all that, now we're going to get to my favorite part. We're going to get to the spine. The spine is so vital and so important, and we want to make sure that there is no tension here. So every single bit of those spine, every single piece that connects the spine together, make sure in between each and every one of those pieces, there is nice, cool air. Oh my gosh, the idea of the release of back pain is so, I want ASMR of that. That idea just makes me so happy. Just imagining that blue, cool air taking out all that back tension. And then going up into our rib cage that holds our lungs, giving that nice blue, cool air an opportunity to provide as a cushion for our lungs so that our ribs are nice and comfy and toasty. Really thinking of each and every one of those ribs in the rib cage. Moving up through the rib cage, we're now going to skip over to the shoulders. I want you to think underneath, I don't know if that's a shoulder cap, but just right underneath your shoulder and behind your shoulder blade, just really thinking again, all that cool air, really just like allowing to get in every bit of those parts. And then kind of when it's kind of had its time with the shoulder, we're going to move down our arm to where our biceps are, right before our elbow. All that nice cool air in there. Getting to the elbow, getting to our funny bone, getting a little bit of cool air in there. Just a nice pit stop to give it some air. Down the forearm into the wrist, not going into the hand yet. I'm going to give the hand its own special time. But now from like our wrist up to our shoulder, there's just consistent, cool, lowest setting on the fan, blue air going all through. When we get to our hands, I want you to imagine it first going through your thumbs, every single bit of joint in your thumbs. And then instead of going to the index finger, I actually want it to go inside through the palm. I want you to think of all of the air going into the base of your hand, that palm that beautifully connects all of the other different fingers, and allowing all of that to get some nice cool air too. And then moving it through the index finger, moving it through the middle finger. We use that one a lot. Moving it through the ring finger, through the pinky finger, all of that good stuff, right? So now allowing that cool air to get past your hand, into your forearm, into your bicep, into your shoulder, back to the neck. Let's get it to the neck. And right in our neck, at the base of our spine, you have these little bones. I call it a mini spine. Another mini spine that connects to the head. And make sure all of those different, there's like C2 and C3 and C7, all that good stuff, getting all those little bits of your mini spine in your neck, just giving those lots of nice, cool air. Nice, cool air. That's another one. The idea of like the releasing of neck tension, ooh, that sounds so good. That makes me so excited. Just thinking of all of that nice, relaxed feeling in our necks, yeah? And so now we're thinking, moving past our neck into our head. But I want to actually start where we're going to be working a lot today, to our jaw, the back of our jaw, where the hinge is, which is right behind your ear. You all have probably felt it if it's clicked or something. God, I have terrible TMJ. I'm telling you, you're just going to hear about all my terrible bodily functions. So like you're getting right into your jaw, right? Getting that nice cool air in the jaw hinge. Yeah. Then moving down the jaw to where your chin might be, getting some nice cool air in that. Also just above your cheekbones and under your eyes, you're getting some nice cool air there. Through your sinuses, some nice cool air, as if there's Vicks Vapor Rub on it. Oh, yes. That nice eucalyptusy feeling that lets you know it's all being cleaned out. Yes, get that nice coolness going right there. And then you can get it right above your eye too. We're really giving some love to the skull, the entire skull, that cavernous, beautiful skull, all that nice, cool blue air. Yeah. And as we think about that, I want you to kind of separate the idea of the body scan now that we've kind of gone through at least most of the body, if not the whole body. And now I want you to really think of your head as a balloon at the end of your body, as if it's being hung on by a piece of string. It's just floating there. Yeah. And this airy feeling, I want you to imagine that and now connect it to our arms. And I want you to start lifting your arms from your elbows up above your head. Yeah, lightly. As if there are strings attached to your elbows. And then when your elbows get to your ears, give it a stop. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Now I want you to imagine there are strings just like on your elbows on the wrists, and let those wrists lift up. No fingers, just wrists. Allowing those wrists to lift up. Yes, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. And once those wrists get up, now the marionettist has put all the strings on your fingers and is now pulling your fingers up ever so lightly until your hands are all the way up above your head. There you go. And now the marionettist is going to cut off the strings to where your fingers is so that your hand just plops down. Snip, hands plop down. Now he's going to cut the strings to where your elbows are so your elbows plop down. Snip. Nice. And now he's going to cut it down to where your shoulders are. Snip. Now I want you to start head first, a nice roll down of your body. And be careful of not initiating from the back, but instead initiating from kind of your pelvis, allowing your pelvis to go back as you move down. When you get down, making sure your knees are not locked, they're actually nice and loose. Yeah. Doing a nice full body roll down. That's great. And when you get down there, you can give me a kind of a sway side to side with your body. You're feeling the weight on your thighs, making sure our knees are nice and gummy. Sway side to side. Give me a baby head yes, baby head no, shaking your head a bit. Great. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll back up again, allowing the hip to kind of initiate that and not our backs. There we go. And then as soon as our head gets up, imagine it floating into place, not just throwing it up there, but floating head into place. Still thinking of the idea that the head is just a balloon attached to the rest of the body. Lovely. Lovely, 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 lovely. Great. You can open your eyes. Any kind of realization, revelation, anything that you're feeling now that you did not feel in the beginning of class? Anybody? Everyone's like, I feel the same.
There's that feeling of like having your head be so lifted and that taking the tension off of your neck and your shoulders.
Yes.
It's very nice.
Yes, it's revelatory when you first do it. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else? Ben.
I definitely put all of my weight on my heels.
Yeah, I think a lot of male identifying people do. I definitely did for a long time. It wasn't until a dance teacher was like yelling at me in class that you're falling because you're on your heel. And it wasn't really something I kind of really put into perspective until I started doing body scans. So yeah, for sure. And then once you kind of got off your heel and shifted towards the ball of your feet, was there anything specific you felt, or was there anything that kind of woke up to you?
I mean, it was really hard at first because it was working stuff that I haven't worked before, but then I forgot about it and it got really easy.
Yeah. I got you. Anyone else? Amber.
I noticed I must, well, I guess I kind of knew this already, but I held a lot of tension in like my lower back. And I think I put like all my weight on my lower back. And so when we were like going through each thing, I noticed that lifting a little bit more and I don't feel as scrunched. Like I feel taller, maybe.
Yeah, Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's a great segue. This idea that when we are in touch with our body, we're setting our body up to be in the best position possible to produce the best vocal sound. When it's in a state of relaxation or when it's in a state of, as little tension as possible, we're able to kind of produce sound that is still just as resonant, but it's not as efforted. And that is really the goal. You really want to be able to get to a place where you don't feel like you're trying. And in a way, you're not. Your instrument is just naturally producing that. Let me get my computer charger so it doesn't die on y'all. And okay. Any other thoughts before we move on? No. Okay, great. So now that there's kind of this nice state of relaxation with our whole body, we're going to focus on the face now. We're going to really get into some of like my other warm-ups and stuff. The first thing that I want to do is very simple, and I'm sure everybody does it. We're going to do some lip trills. The idea of the lip trill, first of all, we're not going to have any sound. It's just going to be constant air only for right now. And again, the imagery of a fan on the lowest setting, right? We don't want to, none of that. The idea is to really have a consistent stream of air that is nice and soft and allowing the air to escape. We're not pushing the air out, we're letting the air escape so that it's more. And for those who may have not done lip trills and may not be familiar, if you're finding it difficult to kind of get that air consistently, think about certain things: tongue placement, jaw placement. Is it forward? Is it back? Is it to the side? Little things like that, because things like that obstruct air, and that's how it prevents it from getting out, which is connected to voice also. But for right now, so let's just go ahead and try that right now. Just really allowing a little bit of tiny air, going out through our lips, lip trills. I actually hate to be, everybody unmute. I would love to just hear everybody's lip trills. It's gonna get weird, folks. It's gonna get weird. Okay, cool. So I'm already hearing a little bit of kind of some pushing right now, and really thinking, not pushing at all, really just allowing the air to come out. It's not a burst of air, it's just more. Yeah. Great. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Once you run out of air, just refill and go again. Anybody having trouble finding the lip trill itself? That's okay. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Do me a favor. Think of your tongue being right behind the back row of your teeth. Imagine your teeth are together and that your jaw isn't jutting forward. And see what happens. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Take your two fingers and put them right at kind of like your smile lines. And don't push, just have them there as a kind of, to recognize and as a reference, and just. And when you're blowing the air, the idea is to only really let this part of your mouth be affected, not just. Mm-hmm. Also, if the nose itches, that means it's good. That means you're doing it right. How you doing, Amber? Is it getting better? Oh yeah, she's like, I did. How's everybody else? Everybody else good? Doing good? It sounds great. Sounds great. That's great. So now what I want to do is we're going to start doing some sound with it. The idea of the sound, I would love for it to increase in range. However, the thing that I want everybody to be careful of is I don't want to hear. It's not really helpful to us. We're going to go incrementally, and so the idea is that we're kind of going. If I can give you a visualization, it's really going. This is the bass. The lowest note you have, going up a little bit and then back down to the bass, going up and then back to the bass. Always coming back to the bass, just so that we're making sure that we're never forcing ourselves up. We are incrementally getting there. It's the same method kind of used in singing when you're trying to get to a high note. You never just a lot of the same vocal production and access that you have for your lower notes, you're probably going to have in your higher stuff. And so it's always good to go back to the foundation and then find your way up. Yeah. So the way that it should sound, along with the visualization, is like. Does that all make sense? Could you hear that okay? Could you see how kind of it's not a scale, but how we're kind of scaling it like that? If you want to go back on mute, that's totally fine. You don't have to, because it is a little bit like singing. I understand. Everyone's like mute, 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 mute. Don't listen to me. So yeah, so really just thinking incrementally, and not range is not necessary. I don't want you to have to try to hit your highest note. I really just want you to see how far you can go until it gets a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah. So I'll do it with you. Ah, God, Jesus. Great. How's everybody doing? Anybody wanna demonstrate? Hey, come on. You're all actors. Don't be scared.
Sure, I'll try.
You wanna go? Yeah, go ahead, Annika.
All right. Oh, sorry. One at a time, like starting at the bottom and going one at a time.
Yeah. Starting at the bottom, and just we're doing the incremental thing, and imagine even less force with the air coming out of your lips, seeing how little you can produce.
All right.
Good. That's great. No, that's great. That's great. Things that I'm already hearing, as soon as you took the note to kind of get lower, it's so funny. You when you were producing less air, your sound got smaller but clearer, if that makes sense. Like, even though it was operating from kind of a quieter place, it felt a lot more connected.
Okay.
And what is interesting is that to you, you probably were like, that doesn't make sense. It was like cracking and not and going in and out, and but that's what it should be doing. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of going through all that muck to get to that good stuff, and with this, especially when you're first kind of doing these kind of exercises, you know, it's supposed to be flipping in and out and kind of going crazy in a sense, just
Yeah.
because you're kind of really starting to explore that, and you're also, I know for me, I didn't start legitimately singing until I was in college. I sang and stuff, but I wasn't trained at all. And what I had told myself in high school was, if I just try hard enough and just push, it'll be good. And that is just not true. And what was fascinating to me as I was kind of going through my first few years of singing was this idea of like truly trusting my voice and trusting my instrument to do what it does. And also accepting that my voice probably can't do things, and just and being like, that's fine. There are other things my voice can do. But a lot of, you know, these exercises are a little frustrating because they're very minute. A lot of the things that I do, you might go to like a musical theater class and it's like, okay, lip trills, great, you sound great, lip trills with sound, okay, great, let's do that. And I really love kind of, you know, milking it and really just playing and seeing what we can find and discovering and being like, ooh, I didn't like when I cracked there. Why did I crack there? Well, let's discover where the voice doesn't connect with the mind, or doesn't connect with the air, or doesn't connect with the you know, all of these different things. And so much of, you know, if you choose to take some of the stuff I talk about today into your own, you know, book of things that you use to warm up, you know, the only thing I can encourage is that slower is better. There is like nothing about, and it's why I talk about doing it incrementally, because you will gain nothing from just going, because you can hear those are two completely different registers and there's almost no connection between the two. But allowing yourself to go, ran out of air, but you could see and hear the connection between the lower register and the top register, and not really, I mean, I don't think, if you could hear it, please don't tell me and hurt my feelings, but you couldn't really see where the voice dropped off and didn't and transfers in terms of placement, you know what I mean? And that only works slowly. So yeah, great, lovely. So now if you thought lip trills were hard, I'm so sorry. Now we're gonna do tongue trills. And tongue trills are essentially the same idea, but we are allowing the air to move our tongue. And the way that that works is, I guess I can really just demonstrate it. Now, note, there is a difference between and that's not the same thing. And if you just think that's a raspberry, no, 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 no. A tongue trill is the idea, this is to work on releasing any tension in the tongue and allowing just your air to move it completely. And so what I think of is letting my tongue really rest on my bottom row of teeth and my lips, right? I can't even do it right now. And you're allowing the air to slip under to move it, yeah? Yeah, this will probably tickle a little bit more. Again, if you start to get frustrated, think about the basics of what a lip trill is. Again, really low amount of air moving through. Mm-hmm. And letting go of your tongue. Like, your tongue is probably going to fight you if you've never done this before. This actually doesn't help as much, because unlike the lip trill, you need the supporting air of your cheeks in order to really move that tongue, because your tongue is heavier than your lips. and also your tongue gets in the way of the cheeks itself, and you end up holding on to your tongue by doing this. So really, yeah. Anybody having trouble with it, or is everybody finding it pretty good? People are finding it. Yeah, it's difficult. I couldn't do it for about a year, honestly. When I was doing it in vocal lessons, it took me a long time to really get there. Kayla, were you gonna say something?
Is spit a thing that should be happening? Because I feel like I'm
Yes, it is, and it should.
Okay.
It's about to get weird. It's about to get nasty. Okay,
Okay.
I don't do this in person during COVID times. Okay, it is really yeah, and again, it's that idea of really allowing yourself to let go of the tongue, and that includes the saliva and all the bodily liquids with it. You know what I mean? Everything in there is also kind of being let go. We use our tongue so much for all these different things. We use it to hold in our spit. We use it to and so letting it go, it might get a little messy for sure. Okay. Tongue is feeling weird now. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, great. Okay, great. Who wants to give me a little demonstration? Who wants to hit it? Who wants to hit? Don't do that. I'll call you out. Somebody better volunteer.
I volunteer as spit tribute.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. Hit me.
Now I'm not gonna be able to do it. Ready?
Ah!
I smile all the time, and then you get into that
Yeah.
laughing mode. So.
Can you do me a favor? This is gonna be crazy. Can you move closer to the camera? I'm sorry. There you go.
Okay. Let me do a squat.
Yeah. Give me a good squat. Do it again. Do it again. Keep your head straight forward.
I feel like I'm really trying to focus on a constant stream of air, but it still sounds like I don't know.
Is your teeth clamping down on your tongue?
Probably. I also just have a really long tongue.
That's okay. That's happened sometimes. Instead of sticking your tongue fully out, imagine just I would say like a fourth after the tip. So
I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna struggle with this.
No. And that might be the case. I also wonder whether you know it or not, your tongue is trying to fight you, which I guarantee you might be some of it. You might have a tongue tension thing. I have a jaw tension thing, but your thing might be the tongue.
Yeah.
Do it again. I'm just curious. I just want to see something. And I hate to be this person. Turn to the side, whichever side you like.
Was that better?
It was better. Turn to the side again. Don't do anything. Just turn to the side. Get your posture up. Shoulders lean back. Lift your head just the tiniest bit more. Your head sinks down. Yeah, okay. Now try it again. Yeah, it's there. There's just something. There's literally, I guarantee you, it's like one piece, and then as soon as you unlock it, it's gonna be free flowing. I literally guarantee you.
I have a question.
Okay.
The air, should it be where is the air going? Is it it should be under or?
Yeah, under. You could do that, but you kind of have to bite on your tongue, and it kind of encourages tension in other places, and so I really prefer under the tongue.
No.
Is your bottom lip relaxed as well?
Maybe not. Okay, hang on. I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm being very relaxed and I'm letting
Yeah.
it go, but
I'll ponder on that. I'm very curious. I know it's like on the tip of my tongue. Who else wants to demonstrate? I will literally call you out. Abigail,
I can
yes,
go. I
hit
can
me.
go.
Good, because I was gonna call you out anyway.
Why you gonna
I'm
say
sorry,
that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's a great stream. Okay, come closer to the camera for me and do that again. So the reason I had you come closer, and maybe I gave you the wrong advice, Kaylee. She actually has almost, I would say, like the middle of your tongue, like close to.
Uh-huh.
How far out does your tongue go, would you say?
I have a very long tongue. I can pick my nose. But like this doesn't go like
Tongue facts. But like when you're doing when you're when you're doing the trill, how far does your tongue go out?
it's just like almost like pushing my bottom lip and rolling up.
Try that, Kaylee, and see what that does for you.
okay.
Yeah. Oh. Your kids are
Such
so
exciting
weird. We are such weird people. Holy crap. Okay, wonderful. That's
theater.
great. That's great. Wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, great. So does that shift help, Kaylee? Did that feel like there was a
Yeah,
difference there?
it did. I almost just like that, like Abigail said, like where you like line it up, like you need to line your lip up with your tongue, and then just
Mm-hmm.
kinda let it sit there like a little. I thought
Yes.
there.
Yes. That's exactly it. Lovely. Okay, great. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's move it along. So now that we've done a good amount of like tongue and lip trilling and spitting and stuff, we've kind of we've kind of awakened some of the parts in our articulator area, our molar area. Now what we're going to do is we're going to really work on our jaws. This will most likely be uncomfortable. This probably won't be fun. It might hurt a bit. Most people don't massage their jaw, but we're going to massage. And by massage, I really kind of mean dig. And so the thing I want to do, let's see if I can, the first thing I want you to do, this whole section right here where your sideburns would be, I want you to just feel around to where your jaw hinge would be. Yeah, or is, not would be. You all have jaw hinges. Where your jaw hinge is, right? Do you all feel it right there? It kind of feels uncomfortable when you're like going through it. There's kind of like a big like boom, boom, boom right there. Yeah. So what I want us to do is we're going to take the end of our hand and slide it down. Uh-huh. Nice and open. Now don't like, I mean, not so hard, but we're genuinely massaging it, just to kind of loosen it up a bit. Uh-huh. Same on the other side. Typically, I do these both at the same time, but just for clarity's sake. Uh-huh. Okay, great. So now that we've done that, next thing we're going to do, we're going to go behind. So if you got that right here, move towards your ear, and you'll feel kind of the big jut of where your lower jaw is. Move up right underneath your earlobe. I mean, if you have ears like mine, you might have smaller, bigger ears, but you know what I'm saying. Right here, and you can kind of feel the jaw, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. But digging a little bit in there to kind of loosen up. It's basically just a little bit more of an intense massage than the kind of roll down with our palms, right? And it's a little bit higher up, kind of like right here. It's right at the hinge. Uh-huh. Phew. This is definitely a little uncomfortable for me. It might be for you. But afterwards, you will definitely feel a little bit of a release there. Yeah, good. Anybody having trouble finding the jaw hinge by any chance, or is everybody good? Everybody found it? Everybody found it okay? Great. Okay, great. So now, this exercise you might have done before. If you haven't, it's a kind of it's kind of a childish exercise, but it's actually one of my favorites. Take an apple in front of you. You have it right here. Big, juicy red apple, or Granny Smith, whatever you prefer. Big, juicy red apple, right? Take a nice big bite. And as you take a bite, you realize, ooh, there's lots of peanut butter in this. So now, what you're doing is you're using your tongue to get all that peanut butter out. And that peanut butter is in every nook and cranny in every single one of those teeth. And this peanut butter, it's not just like Jiffy. It's not Skippy. It's like, it's thick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's thick peanut butter, okay? You really gotta work to get it out. Anybody else do this at the end, like when you feel like you've gotten it, or when you have to get something in the back of your teeth, and you're just like, you're just moving parts around to make sure that they fall out. You look so stupid. So get a little bit of that going on there. Make sure that there's not any extra peanut butter pieces there. Whew, great. Now it's really awakening. Now we're really getting to the awakening of our face, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, next exercise. What I want you to do is scrunch up all the muscles in your face, kind of like you just ate a sour apple. Scrunch even tighter. If you think you can't scrunch tighter, it's a lie. Scrunch even tighter, and release. Release. Yes. I want you to think about when you scrunch all the way in as if somebody's taking that and taking a giant rubber band, snapping it all together. And then as soon as it cuts, it's just like a boom. Like your face is literally expanding this way instead of that way. Does that make sense? Allow your face to kind of to go back onto your skull. Does that make sense? All right, let's do it again. Ready? Scrunch. Get all that tension in. All the way to the tip of your nose. Scrunch. They tie it up. They cut the cord release. There we go. Yeah. So now we've really got blood flowing through all of our face. We got blood all the way going through there. We've worked on our jaw. We've worked on our tongues. We've worked on our lips. Naturally, even without doing anything kind of vocal, I already feel a lot more vocally present. You probably feel a lot more vocally present. Again, this is part of the idea that we're releasing things within our anatomy just to kind of allow it to relax and produce better sound. So last two things I want to do, and then we'll jump into the text. As a matter of fact, let me just throw this into the chat now, just so that you all have it. There you all go. In case the attendees want to see as well, I'm putting it in there. Yes, it's Orsino's monologue from 12th Night that we'll be working on, because I played Orsino and I'm vain. So what I want to do is, the first thing I want to do is, we're kind of going to take a step back and kind of go back to something more simple. We're just going to hum for a little bit, but the idea of the hum, instead of what I really want you to focus on is, I want you to think of pushing the sound, not pushing. I want you to think of placing the sound. And literally this nice oval right here. Kind of coming off your throat and into your mask. Your mask, for those who don't know, is literally where a mask would go. This area of your face. There's so much resonance here. There's so much resonance from your sinuses in this mask, and you can get so much sound out of it, right? So even if we're in the lowest parts of our vocal toolbox, we are bringing it forward. Anybody feeling it? You guys are feeling it right here. Can you feel it right here? If it kind of tickles, that works. You don't have to circle your face, but it does help me to kind of like focus it in. And again, let's think of the idea that we were doing with the lip trills when we're kind of going up the scale. We're kind of going. Yeah. Getting a nice incremental hum going. Loverly, loverly, loverly. Okay. So good. Actually, we can skip the next one because that's not really going to do anything for us. Before we move on, somebody give me a hum. Somebody give me a hum. I want to just see how somebody handles the humming. Y'all suck, man. Beck, come on, let's do this. Okay, cool. So let's try it again. I want you to apply the same idea with the hum as we were applying with the lip trills. We're not putting any kind of burst. It's really allowing the sound to kind of place itself there. You know what I mean? And on top of that, go even slower incrementally. I don't want to say think less volume because I don't think that's the idea, but I can't think of the other thing I want to say. So think just a little bit less volume. Think of simply placing the sound in the air in this area, and when we're incrementally going up, just a lot slower. That makes sense? And take getting into it, take more time. Take more of your time getting into it. Great. Wonderful. How does that feel?
Good. Yes.
He said yes. They said absolutely. That's great. I love that. Is there anything that, and if there's not, that's fine. Is there anything you're noticing that perhaps you didn't notice before?
I just find it interesting that me as a singer, I don't like singing in my chest voice very much. And so I don't explore it very much. And so whenever I have to sing or hum in it, like it's so unfamiliar to me. Like, yeah.
So was there a little bit of uncomfortability with this?
No, it's just, I'm just like, oh, that's what I do when I sing in my head voice. So why can't I like just
apply that in the same place? Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely that same connection. 100%. Cool. Thank you, Beck. Anybody else want to hum for me real quick? I want to hum. Don't do that. Thank you, Amber.
I'll hum, but I can't promise that I do it the right way.
Ain't no wrong way to hum. You got it.
Okay, really quick. I feel like when all of a sudden I hear it in my ear, is that doing it the wrong way? Or do I just have ear problems?
You're hearing it in your ear like a little bit more usual than when you regularly
it's like vibrating and buzzing. It's hearing it here more than like it's feeling like it's coming out here, maybe. I'll do it longer so you can actually see, but
okay. Okay, I think I see what I think you when you get higher, you send the sound back. Think of let's see. Yeah, it's definitely you sending the sound back. What I want you to think of, imagine the sound starts on your chin, and when it increases, again, thinking incrementally, it's only going to like the bottom lip and then down. Bottom lip, then top lip, back down to the bottom lip, then down. Okay, and really focusing on as if the sound is just there. And I think another thing is that when we think of increasing range, we're not increasing volume. So if it doesn't end up coming out of your chest, if it goes into kind of a falsetto, but that's fine. We're not necessarily trying to mess in that realm. That's more like singer's territory, and I don't know too much about that. So let's try that, and let's try really slowly, just going from the chin to the bottom lip and seeing how much higher, and allow your finger to kind of demonstrate that for you. Is what I'm saying making sense?
So like, no, sorry.
Okay, so the idea that when we're increasing the range, so when we're getting higher in our throat or getting higher in our voice, Jesus, not in the throat. When we're getting higher in our voice, we're following our finger to it, but only getting as high as your finger from your chin to your lip, so that it would go. Does that make sense now, kind of?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very slowly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Can you go higher?
Sure. Like to my nose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely. Yeah, that's it. No, that's exactly it. What do you think is the difference between when you're doing it right there than what was happening before?
It's well, I think it helped when I had my finger there, because then it like felt like I was directing my sound towards my finger.
Yeah.
And before I was just like trying not to be quiet, so I started getting louder, and so it went back farther because I didn't hear it in my ear when I did it that way.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that, and this is something I'm still having to fight just as a singer in general, is that we might think something is quieter, but the natural resonance of our instrument is still moving it forward. There was no difference in volume to me when you went from here to your nose. And I think everybody on screen would agree. Like, we heard it perfectly clear from here to here. So I think for you, I feel like visualization really works for you in that regard. And really, whenever you're getting stuck, imagining that you're really keeping that sound in this nice small oval part. Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. Lovely, Amber. Okay, so now let's jump into this text. This is going to get a little bit more analytical and less warm-up-y. So if you'd like to sit, please feel free to sit. Everyone's like, yes, thank you, making me work. Where do I even begin? Shakespeare's text is, if you're not familiar with it, even when you are familiar with it, it's so difficult. It's so hard. It's so dense sometimes. And the best thing that I have found I'm kind of straying off subject, but when it comes to understanding Shakespeare, I have referred back to my vocal instrument to help me, because there are so many different parts to analyzing the text and doing the scansion. Specifically two parts, the alliteration and the assonance. Like, when I'm looking at those two things, which are kind of the things that I kind of like grip onto whenever I'm given a new piece of Shakespeare text from a play I haven't read yet, those kind of two things really anchor me, because vocally I can probably frankly BS my way through it if I need to be. Like, I've been definitely given a random side auditioning for a Shakespeare play from a part I've never read and had no idea, and the alliteration and the assonance has definitely helped me in, like, okay, if I can connect these dots, maybe some other dots will connect mid-speech. You know what I mean? And the only reason I'm bringing that into it is because I think that our vocalizations inform so much of what we interpret. And not just literally, I mean in the sense of like how it is delivered. So if we go to, you know, if music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it, that's surfeiting. That appetite may sicken and so die. Like even those the second and third line, give me excess of it. So give me excess of it, that's surfeiting, the appetite may sicken and so die. I'm getting a lot of S's. I'm getting a lot of S's. And if I had never approached that text before, immediately in my mind, when I'm getting a lot of S's is never good. And when we're doing S's, consonants, a lot of close consonants like T's and S's to me never feel like a good thing. It's usually something negative. And in this regard, it is positive, but in the literal sense, it's negative because he's literally saying, give me so much music, kill me. I'm dead serious. Give me so much music that I love. I want it to kill me as I lay here. And the way, oh my God, I hate when I have to try to explain the crap that goes on in my brain. The thought patterns, I guess the layering for me is that I connect the alliteration of the S's to something negative. Okay, great. If it's something negative, what are the key words in here that are going to give me that? Surfeiting, sicken, excess, and die. Oh, okay. He wants excess of something so that I can kill him and die. But he was talking about food, if music be the food of, and then, you know, just from that, like kind of piecing together alone, so much opens up for me. And I say this as somebody who, I studied Shakespeare, but I didn't study Shakespeare. I was a very bad student. I'm just going to be very honest about that. And I'm not giving you a cheat sheet. I'm trying to tell you, when I was in dire trouble sometimes, I was able to kind of rest on some of this stuff in order to help me go forward. And we're not going to be doing so much interpreting. It's more going to be about the vocal production of it. But all of that to just say, I think it's all connected. I think it's all moves together. And again, like I said, you know, so much of how you vocally produce certain things is how much clearer it is interpreted by the audience, right? And so just take the next like 2 to 3 minutes to really go through. Let your technique carry you when you're lost. Yes, exactly. That's exactly that's exactly what I'm trying to say, Amy. Let your technique carry you when you are lost. That is exactly it. When you are lost and you are gone, rely on your technique. Even when you think that you kind of let it go. For me, I'm just gonna story mode it. Basically, like, there are times when I have had auditions, whether it's singing, whether it's Shakespeare, whether it's whatever, and I've gone into it being like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to do this crap. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm thinking, oh God, like, I'm not actively resting. Yes, I can resend the text. I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking that technique works in the sense that I'm constantly actively applying it. I'm constantly actively making it work. Does that make sense? And it's not that. So much of going on your technique is your really intelligent body absorbing the things that you have taught it. And a lot of those things it's going to involuntarily retain. And if you put the work in, if you put the effort, you put the study, you put the care and the craft into it, it will automatically, involuntarily, your choice or not, it will involuntarily take a lot of those things. And so believing that you've done the work, believing you've put the effort into this before, you know, allow it to carry you. So that's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you, Amy. So the next, like, I'm going to say 2-3 minutes, it's going to get silent. I'm sorry. I just want you guys to kind of go through the text. I don't need everybody to say the full thing. It's just that it made more sense to kind of give it to you all in its chunk. And as a matter of fact, you're not even required to start from the beginning. You can start from wherever, you can do whatever piece of that you want, but I only want you to do 4 lines. I want you to take 4 lines and just say it to yourself and just go over it in your head, interpret it the best way you can. If you got to no fear it, I won't tell. You know, just go through it as best you can. And then we'll come back and we'll play a little bit. Actually, I gotta play it. And if you're just watching, I encourage you to do it as well. Okay, great. Hopefully you've gotten some good time to kind of play with some stuff. The sentence that the 2 lines that I'm like constantly saying over and over again is the last 2. Even in a minute so full of shapes is fancy that it alone is high fantastical. That there's so much juicy stuff in that, and it's so clear. The emotion is just literally screaming through the text, and the way that it feels in your mouth is one of those, and that's one of those, you know, when I did this show, I was comfortable with Shakespeare, but it wasn't something that I feel with Shakespeare now. And it was that those 2 lines I remember being like, oh wow, I very much immediately understand what he's trying to do here based on how it's written. Even in a minute, so full of shapes is fancy that it alone is high fantastical. But you can immediately pick up on the emotions running through him. So who wants to play? Who wants to play? Okay, Willa give me like a hey. Sure.
So just
Yeah. Well, whatever you looked at, worked on, if it's from the beginning, if it's from the end, it doesn't matter. Just go off whenever you can.
okay. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. Oh, skipped a line, my bad.
It's okay, it's okay. Do it again. I just like that. I just like those lines.
Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
What are the things that physically you're feeling when you're doing this text?
Like wistfulness and like, oh, it's so nice, but like I gotta stop because it's not as good.
Okay. So a bit of like getting lost in it, and I gotta kind of cut this. This is getting too far. Okay, cool. So then, Do it again. And everything you just told me, just let it vocally reflect that. And don't worry so much about how you would say it on stage. I just want to hear us in conversation the way that that occurs to you, if that makes sense what I just said.
Yeah. Oh, it came upon my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
Do it again. I want to hear it again before I make my comment, just to be safe.
Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet as it was before.
I'm not laughing at you. Do you hear what you do when you say those lines?
What do you think?
You knock your register down like 2 octaves. It's actually phenomenal. And you encapture perfectly exactly what we just talked about. This idea of wistfulness and the way you let your vocality, your vocals, reflect that is really wonderful. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. Like it was almost that direct. But and the fact that you didn't even notice it is the amazing thing to me. Obviously, it wasn't that drastic of a difference, but there was something very clear in your tone and very clear in the way you were operating vocally that established the two moments in those lines. You know what I mean? And that, again, like I'm saying, that reflects how people interpret the material and how people interpret the text. It's what makes Shakespeare so accessible when you are able to contextualize it the way you just did. Right? Sick. Thank you. Okay. Who else? Who hasn't gone? Emmy. Hey, Emmy. What's good, Emmy? Let's hit it, Emmy.
Hi. I did the same section as Willa.
Okay, great.
Okay. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
Lovely. Well, what are you feeling?
In the beginning, it's like just this intoxication, just being overwhelmed with senses.
Yeah.
And then immediately, like he kind of snaps out of the dream.
What is a color you associate with intoxication?
I think it's kind of, maybe I'm biased just because of this section, but purple came to mind.
Okay. Love that. Can you think of a different color that comes for overwhelming?
Yellow.
Okay, great. Can you give those lines again, but imagine the colors kind of circulating through your body and maybe even affecting your psyche, and allow that to inform you cutting it off?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it came o'er my ears like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
Do it one more time. Allow yourself to bask in those colors more, to the point where you're if it's paint and it is covering your entire body.
Okay. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
What changed that time?
I think just kind of like focusing on the text, but also just like I focused a lot more like on my body rather than just like what my voice was sounding like trying to like feel everything.
Yeah, I think that's also something that I didn't necessarily vocalize, but it's something that I very much believe when we're able to physicalize what we're saying versus how we're saying it, it just automatically reflects. There was I gave you that imagery because I also wanted to see if the tone, because that was the director in me. It was going kind of in a seductive way as well, or in a way that was a little bit like kind of arousing. And the imagery, I feel like you were already on the cusp of getting there, and then the imagery kind of sent you like deep dived into it. And that's just obviously one way to do it. If that's not the way you want to do it, fine. But I think that the imagery sometimes really informs the way that we're able to kind of envelop ourselves within the text and how it comes out. And I mean, obviously a very completely different interpretation from Willa, but just as valid. Yeah. Okay. I think I've literally heard everyone. No, I have not. Hi, Anna. Ooh,
Hi.
you almost got away with it. Hi. Did you do the same section?
I did, yeah.
did everybody do this section? Who didn't do this section? Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So then we'll be fine. Okay, go ahead, Anna.
Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
What are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I think some tension, like weight, like coming down on me.
It sounds more like contempt than it does. It doesn't seem like you enjoy it as much.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Let's play with the imagery of weight. Would pressure also be a good word?
Yeah.
Is there a specific image in your mind of what pressure looks like?
Kind of like water or air, like closing down, like pushing
Oh,
down.
okay. Ooh. I have a huge fear of water, so that did the trick. So this idea of kind of I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. So the idea of water kind of pushing down on you. Okay. So okay, with that imagery, just say it again.
Okay. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
Even though it's pressuring and pushing you down, are you drowning?
I'm fighting against it.
Okay, so you're fighting to kind of get to the other side of it. So then, do you get to the other side of it?
It's kind of ambiguous, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of a so-so. Okay. Can you allow the enough no more? Well, allow all of it, but so this is what I mean to say. Allow all of it to reflect what you just told me, but then find the shift in enough no more. Whatever that means for you vocally, if that makes sense.
Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
What is that? What's happening now, emotionally?
I felt kind of like deeper pushback against that pressure.
Was it a sense of like you felt like, okay, yeah, I can hold my own against you?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. What is an image, or we're about to get deep. You don't have to tell me. Is there a person in your life whom you've had to have this kind of relationship with, of fending for yourself and pushing off? Not necessarily physically, but maybe emotionally.
I can't think of anyone specific, but
But is the feeling tangible enough? Okay.
yeah.
Can you find a made up person and deliver the lines to that person?
Yeah. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough! No more! 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before.
Lovely. Was that different for you?
Yeah, I think it felt more engaged in it.
Yeah, it felt more connected. And vocally what I'm hearing is that you were using all of your vocal production. I feel like the first couple times that you said it, there was such a, oh, it came o'er my ear, like the sweet, like it was very vocally lovely. But there was such an incorporation of the entire instrument now, that again transferred in a way that made me really hear those lines differently. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Great. Lovely. I know we're like getting close on time because I've been taking my time. I would love to 9:40. Okay, great. Let's do one more person and then we can chill and we can jump to the Q&A. Let's see. Everybody is basically gone at this point. Is there anybody who wants to play? Abigail? Yeah, let's play. Let's do it.
Okay, so I do the following line, so I thought it
Okay, great.
Connected well.
Oh, perfect. Great.
Oh, spirit of love, how quick and fresh thou art, that notwithstanding the capacity receiveth as the sea, not enters there of what validity and pitch soe'er.
What's going on? What's going on there?
I was thinking of sort of like the like, what is this? Like, I admire you, but like, what are you doing? Like that sort of.
Yeah. There's a. It feels tingly in a way, or kind of like you're fun, but I don't. Is there a little bit of what's the term? Hesitancy?
I think it's kind of like, I like you, but ooh, you're dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, I love that. Okay, I like you, but you're dangerous. What animal kind of embodies that idea?
Of I like you, but you're dangerous?
Yeah.
The like big cats.
Yeah. Like
You know,
panthers
like
or tigers or
with big teeth.
With big the ones that'll kill me. Let's specify it. What kind of a big cat?
This is I can see it.
What
Bobcat.
color is it? Oh, a bobcat. Okay, great. A bobcat. Great. Are you looking at this bobcat? What's your relationship to this bobcat?
I think there's distance, but there's not
Okay.
a wall.
But
So
there's
it's not
not a
like a
wall.
zoo.
So essentially, it is within reach, but you're not in absolute danger yet.
Yes.
Do it again.
Okay. Oh, spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that, notwithstanding thy capacity, receivest as the sea, not enters there of what validity and pitch soe'er.
Can you do it again and find a place where the panther might or the bobcat might take 2 steps forward and how you receive that action?
Oh, spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that, notwithstanding thy capacity, receiveth as the sea, not enters there, of what validity and pitch soe'er.
Your vocal it's almost as if when it took the steps forward, you made yourself more vocally present, as to make yourself more like, hey, I'm here. What do you think is reflecting that? And whether
Again,
that's vocally or from the text, or I'm just curious.
Again, I think it's kind of like that admiration, almost like, oh, you think like you're coming at me, like, okay, like, ooh, it's getting real, but also I'm kind of gonna, like, I want to have a role in it. I'm thinking like in the text, like it's like I want to be involved with this, but like, ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm very, none of this is like written down. This is, and none of this have I ever read or been taught. This is all stuff that like I have done with on my own, to be like, hey, maybe this will work if I say it like this, and maybe somebody will understand it. You know what I mean? And I think that and every single thing that I've like said to all of you is something that I've done at some point or another with classical text, just to be like, what will happen if I do it like this? And maybe it was a horrible fail, but at least I understand that end of the spectrum better. To understand that I can't go there is to understand it better. And I think that there is nothing wrong with kind of being this kind of abstract with how you approach this text. And even and the reason why I'm kind of stepping off of it completely vocally and stepping it more into the emotional side of things is just because, again, it's kind of like a callback, because I have you say it, and then I just have you I just ask you, what are you feeling? And I think that, again, allowing our vocal instrument to reflect what is happening in the moment is a relationship that will almost never fail you. And I think that that is something that can really help you out, especially, and this is kind of an easy piece of text when it comes to Shakespeare, but it's something that I cannot tell you has saved my butt more than once. We didn't play as much as I would have liked to, but hopefully something I said within this weird exercise I made you all do was able to give you something that hopefully I hope you can take forward. And you can do this with everything. I literally did the same exact process with Hamilton. I still do it with Hamilton. Specifically for Madison stuff, not so much Mulligan. He's kind of a one-note character, but like with Madison, who kind of has all these ebbs and flows, like there's so much that I'm still trying to understand about his motives and how he does it. And sometimes I'll literally just be like, what color does this feel like? Black? I guess it feels like dark black. Okay, great. I'm gonna go the line and feel like it's black, and find new things within that. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that was that. Thanks, guys. Thanks for playing. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found something with it. You guys are lovely, and you have such wonderful vocal instruments and so focused. And I'm so thrilled that I got to work with you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Yes,
And before we open it to the panelists, like, do you guys have any, like, a question for me that I can answer real quick? That can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about this weird things we just did today. Oh yes, go ahead.
What is your favorite memory of like being on tour and just having that experience? Like something that just pops in your head. I know that's a really broad question, but just like poof, it's there, and say it.
The first thing I think of is we spent 3 weeks in New Orleans, and I mean, there is no city on this earth like New Orleans. There is just so much culture, so much magic, so much beautiful music, such good food, and such good vibes. And the thing that I tell people about New Orleans was that there was this experience that we had where there is such a respect, not even an admiration, but a genuine respect for all musicians and all artists down there. And we were just like, oh, we're the, you know, little commercial play coming to just hang out. And we were kind of brought into the fold along with the other musicians and artists of kind of respect when we went to different bars. Somehow people in the bar knew we were from Hamilton, and the artists would make sure to come up and talk to it. And there was such a beautiful exchanging of gifts in presence that really we did not feel in any other city. So yeah, that city just sticks out like crazy.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm here to help manage any questions that come in through the chat.
Yeah, guys.
And somebody submitted a preliminary question that I'm also dying to know, which is, what is your favorite song in Hamilton to perform and why?
Oh, to perform, that makes it easier because the whole "it's your favorite song" makes me want to die. My favorite song to perform, it varies because there are moments when I'm digging Mulligan more than Madison and vice versa. But as Mulligan, there's nothing better than My Shot. Like it's just so, you jump out the gate, audience is already excited to be there, and there's so much excitement and so much fun, and that one feels a little bit more free to me. So much of the show is a lot more rigid and in lock than I think a lot of people would expect for the principals, but the principals are actually really like, there's not a lot of wiggle room for us. But My Shot feels very free to me, and it feels very, I feel like those are the parts where I really get to connect with the audience and kind of, you know, connect on my terms. And then as Madison, it's We Know, which is kind of like an odd song, but We Know is my favorite thing that I've gotten to act on a stage. There are so many ways to play that scene, and I think I've played it at least 25 different ways. And the director is, Tommy Kail is just such a giving director in the sense that he's seen me do the role a million different times, and every single time has been different, and he's never had a problem with that inconsistency. He's always allowed me to, you know, I was like, yeah, this line sounded like this today, and he was like, if it sounded like that today, sounded like that today, great. I don't need it, you know, there's no goal to, you know, Oak did it like this, can you do it like this? There's none of that. As a matter of fact, there have been times when it's like, you're sounding a little like Oak, can you not? You know what I mean? Like almost in the exact opposite. And that's really a privilege as an actor, especially in a show that's now getting the point of machine, like, you know, kind of like a Wicked or a Lion King. To be able to still have that freedom is really blessed.
Wonderful. Abigail asks, has your view or perception of success changed over the course of your life or career so far?
This is my number one piece of advice that I give everybody. You need to change your concept of success starting today. And not that it can't mean you can't dream. It doesn't mean that you can't have high aspirations or goals. But I think sometimes, this might get a little controversial, I think sometimes we as artists are fed a lie. And that the lie is that you are only successful if you get to a certain point. And there was a time in my life where when I was about to graduate from college, I was like, I'm moving to Orlando. I'm going to go work at Disney World. And hopefully I can work there enough years that I can work my way up to becoming a director there, and working within the Imagineering department. And that for me was going to be enough. I was like, yes, that would be great. And I'm not saying that in terms of I already knew what a different level of success was. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I was so good to myself, and I'm genuinely so proud of myself that during senior year, I said to myself, if I go into this year and I go into these casting director and showcases with the mind of I want to book a Broadway show, I'm going to see and feel so much heartbreak. And instead, I said, where will I be happy? And unfortunately, the number one thing I said was, I will not be happy in New York. And at that moment, I was like, I can't. Every time I go to New York, I have an anxiety attack. Like, I hate it. But when I'm in Orlando, Florida, I'm like, you know, outside of Disney World, I'm like, the Orlando, Florida area it feels something within me that is very beautiful and peaceful. And it's something that, and it's something that I aim to grab. And I think that because I knew that about myself, it made me open to the possibility of, well, hey, sorry, but what about New York? Like, if you had an opportunity to go to New York, would you do it? But I think because I had given myself an anchor in something else and given myself an anchor that wasn't just a commercial career of being on Broadway and stuff like that, that is what opened up for me, for the universe to give me the things that it's given me. And it allowed me to go into some of these callbacks for Hamilton in a much better place than the year before, because I was also incredibly obsessed with the show. The show was my life. I was so addicted to the show and I wanted to be in the show, but I knew that even though living in New York was going to increase my chances of booking the show, that it was going to decrease my chances of good mental health. And so I was constantly weighing things like that. And so all of that to say, yes, my success, my concept of success has changed. And then beyond that, when I made my Broadway debut a year ago, it was, everything that I could have dreamed of and more. Then the pandemic hit, and I finally I understood the inconsistency that most actors feel on a day-to-day basis, and the worry and the fear that a lot of actors have. And I did not have something for myself to rely on because I let myself rely on this dream that I had achieved. And it really kind of put me in a bad place. And so now, as much as I love being in Hamilton on Broadway, and as much as I love the Broadway and theater community, I'm really considering being in Hamilton for another few years and then leaving New York to go pursue that first dream I have down in Orlando, and maybe pursuing some other stuff, you know what I mean? But I think it's the idea that there was a minute when, after I booked Hamilton, that I was kind of like, well, I'm just going to ride on this for a hot minute. And even though if a pandemic didn't happen, I could have still done that and it wouldn't have affected me. The pandemic has really made me kind of be like, wow, I've kind of let go of my original morals in relation to that. So that's a very long-winded way of saying, yes, my perception of success has changed a lot.
That's so beautifully spoken, and I think incredibly helpful for the students to hear. The next question I have in the queue is from Dante, who I happen to know is in Greater Orlando right now.
Oh, great. Hi.
Hey. And he says, he has a question about Ragtime. He says, I know you did Ragtime a long time ago, but what was your favorite song to perform in Ragtime, if you recall?
That's so funny. I did Ragtime a lot. I've done Ragtime 3 times now. I did it once when I was 16. I did it once in college, and then I actually did it a year ago at a great theater called Playmakers Rep. And that show means so many things to me. My favorite thing I got to do in Ragtime, it's so cliche, but it really is Make Them Hear You. And I think that Make Them Hear You, for those who might not know the show, is kind of the 11 o'clock number for the character of Cole House. The whole show is kind of about race relations at the turn of the century between white Americans, African Americans, and immigrants coming in from Italy and Haiti and Yugoslavia and where are they from? I completely forget. I'm so rude. But all of these different, countries and the Cole House, the character who kind of represents the African American community, goes through a number of events that involve, spoiler alert, his wife dying and his car getting beat up, and kind of ends up kind of going mad with grief, to the point where he kind of turns into like a violent tyrant. And at the end of the show, he kind of relinquishes all of that power, and he sings a song called Make Them Hear You, which is more about, allowing them to understand the legacy and the story of how you fought, not just the fact that you fought. And it's a really beautifully written song, and it comes at a moment in the show that is so there's so much like happening, and then out of nowhere it's like, and it just shifts. And being in that show is so exhausting, and there's a special there's a special relationship between the audience and actor in Ragtime that isn't in a lot of shows. And I really miss that. I don't miss doing that role because it's a hard role, but I do miss that relationship.
Thank you. Let's see. I've got a couple. I got to scroll back here for a second. Okay. Hermione wants to know, performing the same show. I know.
I'm sorry, Hermione. You probably get that all the time. I'm sorry.
I'm dying to meet her. I know she's around. When you have to perform in the same show over and over, how do you keep yourself from reaching the point where you're going through the motions?
Accepting that it's going to happen. Accepting that it's going to happen and making sure that you are present enough to catch yourself. I've done over 600 performances of Hamilton. Once we got to like 350, autopilot for at least a month. And not even intentionally, it just was happening. And it wasn't until I went on stage and realized I was on stage, forgot my line, and was like, that's not fun. And when you forget your line in Hamilton, we call it the train. It will leave you. You know what I mean? And so if you mess up, the show still goes, and you have to catch up what you've just lost. And it's a whole thing. And so what a lot of us, and especially after we hit the year mark, we would circle up before every show, and we would kind of give ourselves prompts for each of the shows. And so, like, you know, my favorite prompt was find a new moment with a new cast member in a scene that you've never had with them before. And so the whole show, and by that point we had been so comfortable that we could kind of, you know, rest on the show just a little bit, but there was something new in our minds that we were giving ourselves to keep the show fresh. And also, Andy Blankenbuehler and Alex Akamar and Thomas Kail came every 3 months to the tour to clean up and to give us notes and to make sure that we're doing things the same way. And because the show does, you know, you rest, you end up getting comfortable. Like that's just that's how an 8-show week works. You just end up getting comfortable in it because you're trying to get through it the best way that you can. And so after a while, you end up kind of just resting on your laurels. And fortunately, the creative team is smart enough to know happens once every 3 months. So we should really make a point to go out every 3 months and really, you know, kind of whip them back into shape. And so, you know, Andy does these like 8-hour like dance rehearsals where he's like explaining the genesis of certain moves that he found when he was like hiking through Venezuela. And, you know, it's incredibly inspiring, and it's brilliant, and it's wonderful. But the thing that I found helpful was when I started just being like, it's gonna happen. And instead of getting mad at myself for going through the motions, catch myself, remind myself why I'm here, understand there's somebody in the audience who's seeing this and seeing theater for the first time, or it's their last piece of theater, really reminding myself of these certain kind of things, and then boom, getting right back into it. And there are some days when you don't even have the mental capacity to do that. There are some days where you just walk on stage and it's like the most I can do is walk on stage and say these lines. And I've been there many a time. And as much as you try to avoid it and as much as you try to push through it to give the best performance you can, it happens sometimes.
We have just a minute left, and I've got a question in the queue that jumps off of that last one, which is the physical, like how physically demanding is it to do those 8 shows a week?
Yeah, it's very, and if people don't mind, I don't mind going a little bit over. It is unspeakable how physically demanding 8 shows a week is. And I think that when I left the tour in August of 2019, and then I joined the Broadway company in January of 2020. So I had a 6-month break where I did another show and I hung out and I drank a lot and I just kind of partied because like I was like, I got money and I got another job coming. And boy, was that stupid. And I had even gone on this like fitness kick. So I like lost a bunch of weight and I was very like, you know, feeling myself physically. And so unfortunately, my foolish thinking part of it is diet culture and part of it is me just like not trusting anything, made me think that, oh, I'd lost all this weight, I've been working out all this much, I'm gonna be fine getting back into the 8-show week. And I was even more tired than I had been than the beginning of the run when I first started doing the 8-show weeks, simply because the difference is that you are mentally in a completely different place 8 shows a week. You are socially in a different place 8 times a week. The difference between doing an 8-show week in New York versus an 8-show week on tour, there's so much to consider, and so much of it is understanding where your body is that day. I was only with the show before the shutdown about 7 weeks. I went out twice in that 7-week period. On tour, I'd go out probably twice a week. But when I was in New York, there was something about Broadway, and it's not that there's a different caliber, it's not that there is a different quality, it's not that at all. There was just something different about the show I was producing on Broadway, which was smaller because the houses are smaller, so I'm not performing as to wide an audience. My show was smaller, but my show was more exhausting. And I think it was probably because of the subtlety that I was having to access. And so every day was, wow, that show really knocked me out. I should probably go home, steam, roll out, and go to bed. And physical demand also links up with emotional maturity. There are going to be great times when, hey, we're at Glass House across the street, come grab a drink with us, friends you haven't seen in a minute. It's like, I have a matinee tomorrow. Is it worth going and getting a little tipsy? Is it worth ruining my matinee over tomorrow? You know what I mean? And sometimes you even say to yourself, it won't be that bad. And then you find yourself the whole show. And that's exactly how my vocal cords work. My vocal cords aren't strong enough to be able to hold up like other people's can. I have to take extra care of them to make sure that I can do the show the next day. So yeah, it's incredibly physically demanding, but it's more a mental game than it is a physical game. And the moment that you can make that connection is how you're able to get on the other side of it.
I love that you just used the term rollout. Can you define that for the students that may not have heard that before?
Yeah, rolling out, I literally, like a roller, like a foam roller. Because of the physical, duress that I'm putting on my body, especially at Mulligan, because Mulligan is running and jumping and screaming and all that foolishness. I go home and I roll my muscles out on that roller, and it hurts. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it, but I do it as often as I can. And also because at that moment, I was lifting weights during the day and then going to do a show at night. Which I don't advise ever. But it's what I was doing. And so my body was just constantly tight. And so I needed to be able to roll out my thighs and my calves and my hips and my back and my arms. And I'm just rolling out. It usually took me about 30 to 45 minutes every night. And I would also do it before the show. So I actually was rolling out like twice a day. So I would do it right before the show. I would quickly roll, because for me, my legs are the thing that get me the most in the show, because I'm so low to the ground for a lot of the show for some reason, especially as Mulligan when I'm dancing. So I mostly roll out before the show, and then after the show I kind of roll out the whole body. I shower just to get some nice hot water to give myself a reset. Yeah, it's a lot of just like taking care of yourself in ways that you don't think is taking care of yourself, but it really is.
Nice. Well, Ferg, it's 10:04, and there are a couple more questions in the chat. If you're
please.
Okay.
Please.
Let's see. The next one I have is, this is so good. Can you explain what you mean when you said most of Hamilton principals are less free than people think they are?
Yes, I think because of the hip hop in the show, and because of the nature of the kind of the swagger amongst the men, and kind of the without being condescending, but truly the fierceness of the women, there's this idea that the principals kind of have like some leeway in terms of the interpretation of the text, but the text is very locked in, a tailor spying on the British government. I take the measurements information and then I smuggle it. Mm-hmm. There's only so much wiggle room you can do with that. And almost going against what I said earlier, everyone, Tommy and Lack specifically, are so adamant, like, Fergie, when you say those lines, you're really telling the story of how they knew to sneak up on the British. So you need to be able to deliver it in a way that, yes, is exciting, but you have to tell the story. And because the emphasis first is getting the audience to understand what we're saying, and then grooving and jamming is under that, which I think a lot of people kind of get confused. I think a lot of people see the show and go, oh, it's a good time, it's fun, but that's not it. We're telling the story. We just happen to be grooving and jamming as we do it. So if we're doing too much groove and jam, the story is muddled and lost. We have to be fortuitous in making sure. And the Yorktown rap for me is one of my hardest parts of the show because of that. Because a tale of spying on the British government, I think it's so quick, and there's so much happening on stage that a lot of people end up missing it naturally. And if I'm having too much fun, genuinely, if I'm having too much fun, then I'm making more of a mess for the audience than possible. And so when I say that it's less freeing for us, I'm not trying to say that we're not free. What I'm trying to say is that we have a responsibility first and foremost to make sure the story is as clear as possible to this audience. And then behind that is where the fun comes in. The best part is, like, after, 200 performances, you really find that middle ground and you can lean into the fun a little bit more because you've really understood how to tell the story. But with, and what I was saying about my shot was that it's after he goes, I'm thinking past tomorrow and I am not throwing away my shot. That section all the way to the end, we've already established to the audience what I'm not throwing away my shot means. We already made it clear that we are in the middle of a revolution. We are challenging ideas and we're claiming independence from Britain. And because of that, we as the Sons of Liberty, me, Lawrence, and Lafayette, we can play during that last section of it's time to take a shot. Yeah, it's time to take a shot. Whoa! That whole section we get to play because we've already established what this moment is. So now we get to dig into the second part of that. So that's more what I mean when I'm talking about not as much freedom as I would say, as much as what people think. And then the dancers have even less freedom than us. And that's only because they are interpreting physically everything we're saying.
Yeah.
And so that's rigid, stuck stone, no freestyle. What you see is the exact move they were taught specifically.
Yeah. Thank you. What's it like to play Mulligan and Madison, and how do you switch between the two roles? And then there's one more after this in the line.
The funny thing to me is that I don't find Mulligan, Madison, the switch off hard at all. I think the Lawrence and Philippe Hamilton switch off is one of the most difficult things an actor can do. The switching between John Lawrence and Philippe Hamilton, I think they are written so similarly with such similar energy that watching that actor go between the two roles blows my mind every time, because whoever does it always finds a way to distinctly separate the two. But for me, Mulligan and Madison are such polar opposites that it's so simple for me to find both. And I don't know if that's just a me thing, but that really is just like, it's just really simple for me. What it came down to in rehearsals was, how do these characters function within the play in relation to Alexander Hamilton? This show is about him. The show is not about me. What is my job in the show to make Hamilton's storyline as prominent as possible? And so with Mulligan, it's a place of support. With Madison, it's a place of defense. And then from there, spider web diagram of different tactics, different ways. How do I feel in this scene? Okay, why am I doing it in that scene? Why can't I do it this way? Well, I can't do it this way because that it all comes down to, what am I servicing within the play? And I think whenever you're doing multiple characters, that's really the only way to do it. I once did a production of 39 Steps where I was one of the clowns and I played like 30 characters. And I was doing like 6 different accents and like, all these different things. And it really came down to, okay, when he is in the hotel and I'm playing the hotel, cleaning lady, what is my job in terms of making sure he moves the story forward? How am I contributing to his storyline? What do I need to do? And when you take it off of yourself, you're able to track it easier because you're not thinking about how you perform it. You're not thinking about how you do it. You're thinking about that person and that character and how do you move the story forward. When you're concerned about how the story moves forward, you become less in your head about how am I going to do it.
Yeah.
Which to me is the root of all acting. All acting is how am I giving the best performance for my partner to move on to the next scene. It's not how am I giving a good performance enough for the audience to think the show is good. It's how am I giving my partner enough so that they can continue on and so that I can get off stage. If you break it down that simply, everything becomes a lot more practical and easy, in my opinion.
Nice. Thank you. Let's focus on the story. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The last question is from Amber, who is one of our panelists this evening. And Amber wants to know if you guys are still meeting via Zoom to work on stuff with your Hamilton pals, I think she means, or has it just been on hold?
It's been on hold. God, if they were calling us into Zoom rehearsal, I would cuss them out. What we do, we it really is a family. And so, I am best friends from the tour. I'm best friends with the Burr, the Washington, the Lafayette, and the Lawrence, and 2 of the ensemble members. All 7 of us are, no, 3 of the ensemble members, all 7 of us are best friends in real life. And we have a group chat that we write in every single day. So all of us talk all the time. The Broadway company, we have Zooms every week, kind of like check-ins, but I personally haven't been to one of those in a minute. They kind of just depress me. But we met for that 1 week to do, was it 1 week or 2? No, it was a 1 week to do Macy's Thanksgiving, which was a really cool experience. Yeah, we it's kind of been radio silence. Like as much as you all know is basically as much as we know too. So I'm hearing murmurings end of summer, early fall, but I take everything with a grain of salt. So yeah, that's kind of that's the scoop.
All right. Well, thank you, Ferg. We'll go ahead and wrap up now. I really, all of us appreciate your spending time with us today. All of the text work was just so fabulous, and the vocal approach was something I think that was new to me as well, that you have developed. So I'm sure it was new for these folks. And I think what you had to offer was just so useful in every single way. Really.
I'm so glad. That's all I hope. I never know what I'm doing going into these. I just hope somebody takes it. I hope somebody is able to take it and do something with it. So I'm so glad it's been somewhat helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, really fabulous. Thank you so much. So visible people, let's please give Ferg a nice round of applause.
Yes, and to you all as well, all of you.
Right. Yes, classic round of applause. Love it so much. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your nights. And some of you, yes. Bye.
Thank you.
I put my social media handles down in the chat. If anybody wants it, please stay in touch with me. I love connecting with people over the social media. If anybody has any questions or anything like that, get in contact with me, especially you, what is it, 9 of you, you 9. Amy has my email. If you 9 have any questions too, feel free to ask her for my email. I'd love to help you out in any way. But thank you all. Thank you all so much. So much love to all of you. Stay safe, wear your mask, and be blessed, be kind. Thank you all.
Take care. Bye.
Sorry, I was trying to save that the link.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Erin.
Not a problem.
Great. All right, we're all set. Have a good night. Bye.